if you want to do your part, you know, a lot of people ask, you know, how do I help, you know, the environment without like donating to some organization helping the rainforest?
Right.
Get native plants. They are the groundwork, the foundation of all of our ecosystems around here, because everything depends on them, including us.
All right, cool. So, Nicole, today we are joined by Sam Dublo. He is a native plant expert and young entrepreneur. You're from Jersey County, correct?
Yeah, Grafton specifically.
All right, and what's your company called?
Sam's Native Nursery, and then on my Facebook I have restoration services because I do landscape jobs as well and restoration jobs. So
awesome. Yeah.
And how old are you?
20. I'd refresh on that.
It's making me feel really bad about my life right now, but I love it in the best way possible. That is amazing.
What do you know about native plants?
I know they are local to the state and the area that you live in. That's all I know. I don't know.
A favorite native plant?
Not gonna lie, I don't know.
Well,
all right, so we're going with the base.
Yes, we're doing like a basic, like I told you, I have a black thumb. Like I kill everything I try to grow. I'm coming in this blind, so teach me.
I'm a big fan of the purple coneflower. I know that's pretty basic. Classic. I love me an echinacea. Good stuff. All right, so Sam, tell Nicole and I, what got you into native plant?
You know, growing up, I've always been surrounded by plants. You know, my family had a pretty extensive fruit and vegetable garden.
All right.
And, you know, I would help my dad, like, start all the plants and stuff. But, you know, I would see flowers as kind of like something that's unneeded because they didn't make any food. So, I mean, that's a pretty short-sighted thing. And, I mean, unfortunately, that's just how most people are taught in our society. Whenever COVID happened and I had a lot more time on my hands. I'm sure everyone did.
Yeah.
And so on our property adjacent to it was this abandoned cow pasture. And every year I noticed that it would just have all these like different colors of flowers, especially in the late summer. And I just thought they were weeds because it's just what my parents taught me. But since I had more time and wasn't bogged down by school, I got out I hopped the fence over that property, and I tried to look at all these different flowers I had never really seen before. I'd never really taken the chance to notice. And while I was out there, I seen all kinds of different like insects, animals, and some really, really rare plants that weren't even documented in Jersey County before.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about some of those.
So there's a tall green milkweed, Asclepias hurtella.
Okay.
It's a really like sort of unremarkable milkweed in comparison to like butterfly milkweed and swamp milkweed, but it's kind of has like a feathery leaves to it, and it has these pom-poms of green and purple flowers on it up the stem. I really like it as a structural plant, but they're extremely conservative in where they grow. They don't like grazing. They don't like any disturbance at all. So the fact that was growing there in that specific spot is really, really interesting. And it just shows how long that area was just left untouched. But, you know, after stumbling upon all these cool plants and all these cool interactions between organisms, I was just like, I need to learn about this. I need to delve into this because this is so cool. How has no one seen this before? And people have. And then through my rabbit hole search into native plants, I stumbled across Crime Pays What Botany Doesn't.
Okay, I do love that YouTube channel.
He is incredible, and he kind of inspired me.
What is it called again? I'm sorry.
Crime Pays What Botany Doesn't.
Okay.
He's a guerrilla gardener. He tries to go out, and I've seen him take out like invasive plants or like ornamental plants that are depleting the native world and like just replant really cool stuff. I've seen him do it in LA, Chicago, and a few other places. Like he's a really cool, really popular YouTube channel. Definitely check him out. It's good stuff.
I 100% agree. But I would see there's a couple of videos he did where he went out to the prairies in sort of northern Illinois and Chicagoland, and I seen all the same plants there as I seen here.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I can like learn about these plants in engaging way because I'm a Gen Z. I'm always glued to my phone, my cellular device.
Absolutely.
So, I just absorb so much information so quickly, and I'm just like, this is so incredible. And then, I got to watch things progress over time. I would see all the spring ephemerals bloom and practically vanish by June, which are plants that come up very early in the spring, like February. They bloom in March through April and even into May, and then they're gone the rest of the year. You wouldn't even know that they were there.
Sweet Williams do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I love those.
And then I would see all the prairie plants start to bloom. Like a lot of your more upland prairie plants bloom like kind of in June and July. In fact, like right now, my butterfly milkweed is blooming. My rattlesnake sinister is starting to bloom. Those are all plants that kind of bloom earlier on, and then you get more of your kind of high summer plants that get gigantic, like prairie dock and compass plant get like 12, 15 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like giant perennial sunflowers. They're wicked.
Did you just start like collecting them so you'd learn about them? Did you collect their seeds? Did you research how to like replant them? Like what got you into like wanting to transport them?
So shortly after I discovered all this, it became wintertime. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to a new house.
Okay.
And then I had already collected all these seeds because as I learned about them, I was like, I want to grow these and put them on our landscape. Fuck all these hostas.
Yeah.
Fuck all the boxwoods. I want like blue mist flower in my landscaping. I want red bee balm in my landscaping. I want all these cool flowers in my landscaping because they are just wicked in some of the colors and form that some of these plants have.
Yeah.
So that pasture that I would always go to look for plants and just sort of empty my mind was put up for sale, or it was traded hands or something.
Okay.
But this new owner mowed it all over and turned it into a giant hayfield. That pissed me off so much.
I could imagine.
It pissed me off so much after finding all these rare plants and after saving all these seeds, just to have it all like turned over really like almost radicalized me. It did. It was
absolutely.
Like it was like why I wanted to just put all these plants in everyone's yard because I felt like everyone needs to enjoy these beautiful plants and enjoy their wildlife associations with them because it's educational, it's engaging, it saves money, and it saves the world. I mean, there's really no reason why you shouldn't be planting native plants other than you just don't know about them yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something, so as you know, my wife does the native pollinator garden at the Hainer. You helped out with that.
Yes, I did.
That was incredible. That was a really fun day. So I've been learning a lot about the butterfly and moth life cycles that are dependent on certain plants. Mm-hmm. Like there are certain plants that butterflies and moths require. And like, I know milkweed's a really prime example of that with monarchs. But what are some other ones?
So what you're describing are what Doug Tallamy, who is this really informative professor from University of Connecticut, he calls them Keystone species. And they are species of plants that host the most biomass of caterpillars. And the reason why caterpillars specifically is because if you think about a caterpillar, they're really big and fat. They hold a lot of nutrients. They hold a lot of carbs, a lot of fats. And that carries the most energy from plants to animals is what caterpillars. So I have a Keystone species with me today.
Yeah, let's see it.
So this is New England aster. This is a fall blooming plant.
Mm-hmm.
It gets really nice kind of pinkish to purple daisy flowers on it when it does bloom. It gets around 4 or 5 foot tall. And asters, plants in the genus Symphyotrichum, host several hundred different species of caterpillars, which is like way more than any other native plants around because they attract all the generalist butterflies to feed on this. And it's the same with goldenrods and milkweeds, like you said, and eupatorium. all these different...
What's eupatorium? I've never heard of that one.
Boneset. So you'll see them growing along the roadsides, kind of when goldenrod and asters are blooming. They're just white flowers. You might get a few pink ones. Eupatorium and eutrochium, Joe Pye weeds, and bonesets are kind of interchangeable.
Cool. What other plants you brought today?
So I brought another one that would be good as like an herb. So this is Pycnanthemum muticum, the cluster mountain mint. What's special about this one in particular is that it attracts the most pollinators out of any native plant.
Okay, good thing we got some in our little community.
Yeah,
garden.
the most wide array of species come to this plant. And
why?
The flowers are really shallow. Okay. So you can get like flies and wasps in there who don't really have long tongues to get nectar. And it replenishes so much nectar quickly.
Okay.
It replenishes it very quickly, and it has a lot.
It doesn't look like the normal mint that gets all invasive.
No, so plants, this isn't a true mint.
I was going to say.
Mints are in the genus Mentha, and this is in the genus Pycnanthemum. They're in the same family, the mint family, Lamiaceae, but they're not closely related. They're like very distant cousins, you know. And you can eat this, and it kind of has like a really weird taste to it, kind of like a minty gasoline almost. Definitely. If you guys want to try some, go ahead.
I'll try
let's
it.
get it.
Because I know Old Bakery made a beer out of this.
What?
Out of this one?
Yeah, they did a T&I thing, and they did a pawpaw one, and they did a Hairy Mountain Mint one.
That is incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I remember going to that.
Was it good? Was it very good?
It was really good. I like the pawpaw one.
Try it. Here, I'm gonna spill it. I right there.
You're gonna.
I'm going to. I am clumsy. Okay.
Yeah, you can
Just take any one.
Mints in this area.
There's a lot. There's actually a native true mint. I don't think you like it.
That face is.
No. There is the first you get the gasoline and then you get the mint.
Yeah. You see, I think minty gasoline's a pretty.
That it was actually a very, very good description.
We're gonna say go home stop that, Bobo.
So, because I don't know, like I said, I'm coming into this blind. I have kids and dogs to take care of, and plants are the last thing that I'm learning about. But, so when you guys say invasive, so that's bad, right?
Okay. Very bad. So
what is an invasive plant?
So a lot of people get invasive plants like mixed up on the definition, and I'm here to set that straight.
Let's do it.
Some people call some natives invasive, which is just not true. Like some people call trumpet vine, Campsis radicans invasive, but it's not. It's a native.
Do they just call it that, you think, because like it grows more than other plants? Okay, yeah. Okay. So aggressive doesn't equal invasive. Okay.
So by definition, an invasive plant is a non-native plant that has invaded local ecosystems and is threatening biodiversity.
What's a good example of that around here?
Bush honeysuckle.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that son of a bitch.
That is
honeysuckle's a real bastard.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's actually, well, I know the Japanese.
I thought it was good.
Well,
it's
not
delicious.
Really. It's delicious, but not good.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now you'll get the vining honeysuckle blooming. Mm-hmm. That kind of grows on like fence rows and waste areas, but in the woods right now, you won't even be able to walk through it because of how much honeysuckle is there.
Yes.
Honeysuckle has shoved out so much biodiversity. I would even say it's even killed like 95% of our local species around here.
And birds.
It kills birds?
Yeah, they don't get nutrition from it, but they'll eat it, and it just sort of like, it's not good.
Yeah, it's like...
So it's like the fast food for birds.
I was going to say, it's like eating donuts all your life.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They make little red berries, and the birds go nuts for them, and then they spread the seed of it in their feces, and then that further leads to their own destruction because they're like making new donut shops everywhere, and you're eating donuts every day. It's like putting a Dollar General in a food desert, you know?
Yeah. It's the common Midwestern practice.
So I think you're the first person that's actually got me to understand plants.
I mean, really, that's what I want to do. I want to educate more people into learning about native plants. That way they'll be more inclined to put them in their yards and really appreciate, you know, what what they are for what they are, rather than what can it do for me?
I mean, there are also non-native plants that are non-invasive, correct? Like dandelions.
Yeah, they serve like a limited role in the ecosystem. Like I know that purple dead nettle that you love.
I collected a bunch of it.
Yeah, that has a minor ecological role, and I'd say it's beneficial because it colonizes crop fields so quickly, and it serves as food for pollinators in a time where there's not many flowers blooming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But also, like, industrial agriculture sort of helps destroy. I'm getting you started on industrial agriculture. How does that play a role in native plants? Like, I know a lot of industrialized agriculture uses harmful pesticides, genetically modified crops for better or worse. And how does that play a role, especially around here with things like swamp milkweed?
Yeah. So around here, it's really the only two very large problems regarding industrial agriculture. It's just the land use. I would actually say three: the runoff and the pesticide drift from overspray. Industrial agriculture, you're not really taught to really understand and care for the environment. So you have a lot of farmers who have their booms on their sprayers way too high, and they get drift on a tree line that kills all the leaves and all the forbs that are supporting pollinators and caterpillars and all these different animals. And then you get runoff, which pollutes our water.
Yep.
And it causes algae blooms, which further decays habitats, because you don't have any invertebrate biodiversity, because it kills all the oxygen in the water, and that's where they repopulate.
They're usually like the first things that you watch for is like fly larvae and crawfish.
Yeah, they're bioindicators for sure. And then in regards to land use, which is the biggest one, when you have thousands of acres of just pure cropland, that can't support any life. It's just a desert. It's an ecological desert. And the only place where these elements of life can persist are in the roadsides. And then you get all these shit for brain state workers and farmers who spray glyphosate on the roadsides because they're weeds, which it is just completely ass backwards, because those plants keep your topsoil from running off.
Yep.
And it's also the same with, tilling, like spraying glyphosate on in your field in the springtime, because most of those plants are classed as winter annuals. The seeds drift in there whenever the plants die off in like summer. They sprout in the fall, they grow throughout the winter, and then they bloom in the spring, then they die off. So by the time you actually get your soybeans and corn planted, they're already dead and gone. And they act as a winter cover crop because they hold the soil and they're actively living and growing. And so why would you spray that if they're going to be dead and gone in a month?
I mean, wouldn't that add fertilizer to the soil as well?
Yeah, if you were to just till those winter annuals under, they would die, and they would not only make your soil more microbiologically diverse, it would also add nutrients. So why waste money on herbicide when you can just till it and just save a shit ton of money?
Probably because, Bayer needs their profits.
Exactly.
Needs their
exactly.
margins.
And that's
America.
That's why that stuff isn't taught in like ag schools or by generational farmers, is because Monsanto and Bayer has just shoved this narrative down their throat on how to farm, and it's completely unsustainable, and it only benefits them in the long run.
Absolutely.
So you learned all of this. You hadn't gone to school for this. You just kind of learned it organically.
So I started on this in high school, and then I graduated, and then I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because I'm incredibly passionate about this. So I'm going to Lewis and Clark right now for environmental science, and that's where a lot of my knowledge got expanded. And then afterwards, I'm transferring to Everettsville for EEC ecology, evolution, and conservation.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's time for our first break. So we're going to take like a little tiny break and we'll come back and we're going to ask you more questions about native plants.
And also I want to ask you questions about your business, like how you started your business. If you have thoughts on this episode, comment. We want to hear from you. That's why we're doing this. Without you, like, what the fuck are we doing?
Hey, if you like what you heard, like and subscribe. That was normal. That was a normie one. That was such a normal take.
So we're back from the break with Sam here, and we learned there was a misfortune with our camera earlier whenever we were sampling some native flora. And Nicole has to now eat the mountain mint again, which you described as what? Gasoline mixed with mint?
Yeah, minty gasoline.
And it was a very apt description.
I think it tastes
I'm going to take a smaller leaf this time.
Coward. Do the whole thing.
Do the whole
You could add that to your like 15 herb snake oil. We'll talk about that later.
My snake oil. I think it tastes like that scotch that tastes like a tire fire.
Here, also see how cool it is.
Brush your teeth.
For them to see up close. It's neat.
It's a beautiful plant.
Oh, yeah.
It's not what you think of whenever you hear mint.
You should see how the flowers.
I switch out my gum again.
All right, switch up our phone. How's try number 2?
It's the okay. So
You're more prep for it this time.
I was, but
So the fact you just ate one of those hot chips you find at the gas stations. You know
it's
Oh yeah, the one chip challenge. One chip challenge.
the gasoline is on the front end, and the mint sneaks up on you in a pleasant way because it's like, oh, we got gasoline, and now I'm gonna reward you with mint.
Yeah, it tastes like 15-year-old peat scotch mixed with Rumpelmans, which is
I don't get Rumpelmans from that, and I refuse to drink Rumpelmans
like
ever again. So that's not Rumpel. That's not Rumpel. You do it. Take a huge leaf off the top, though.
If you were to like soak,
You mind if I take a big leaf?
oh yeah, go ahead.
Plant.
I feel like it's if you were to soak like menthol cigarettes and like black tea. I feel like that's what it would kind of taste like.
You eating that just gave dino vibes. It did. It was just like
Brachiosaurus.
herbivore ones.
It kind of reminds me of like brushing my teeth with the windows open at my mom's house in South Rexon.
Okay.
It's got that pungent benzene to it. Like it feels like home. I'm nostalgic for this. All right. So I saw you brought 3 plants. We've been through the mountain mint. We talked about the aster.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with a mysterious third plant that you've brought. What is that?
So this is Illinois' only endemic plant, and it is an endangered species that only grows in one county in Illinois, on one island in Illinois, on one river in Illinois.
Wow.
Okay.
So this is the Kankakee Mallow.
I'm guessing it grows on the Kankakee River, then.
Yeah, it grows on Langham Island on the Kankakee River. And there is a hell of a story regarding this plant. So it was discovered, I think it was in the 1700s by some white dude. So that doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that invasive honeysuckle almost made this go extinct.
Oh, shit.
So however many years ago, centuries ago, there were Native Americans who would burn the land. And then the land already naturally burned like once every 5 years. They accelerated that. And lots of plants around here are proliferated through fire because the fire clears all the woody tissue and then it makes all the annuals, perennials, and shrubs and trees spring back to life because it rejuvenates the soil. Well, because we have repressed fire for hundreds and hundreds of years, all this woody growth is building up, and because it's so wet here naturally and we've suppressed fire so much, and because the advent of invasive species, no light reaches the soil seed bank after a burn when a burn normally would. So this plant can't germinate, essentially, because we have removed fire. And this plant requires fire because whenever you grow this plant, it requires a heat treatment. It requires a heat treatment, and then you need to simulate a winter by putting it in the refrigerator or just sticking it in a pot and just leaving it outside.
So it's high maintenance. Okay.
Not really. high maintenance to grow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. High maintenance to be product.
Chill.
Whenever this is growing, it grows insanely fast and it is insanely prolific, and it blooms a lot. It is a very beautiful plant. It looks kind of like a hollyhock almost. But in 1970 something, there were no plants left. No plants left on Langham Island because honeysuckle completely choked it out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So a bunch of volunteers in the 70s were like, we need to do something about this right now. So what they ended up doing is that they returned fire to Langham Island. They burned it. And you'd think it's kind of counterintuitive to burn a place to bring plants back to life.
Did it work?
And it worked.
Hell yeah.
The following year, I think they counted a whole bunch of seedlings, and then, the population was restored again. And then, people started to trickle away from volunteering, and then it got endangered again. There was only like 5 plants left in the wild, and then this organization called Friends of Langham Island was started to help manage Langham Island again. And then now this plant, there's somewhere around 5,000 individuals on the island.
Hell yeah. And it is one in
this.
this basement right now.
This is the most purest interview we've had on here, I feel like. Like, even this tops the purity of the Toy Store episode. And I am loving this.
This is one of the few ecological success stories you hear about. This plant,
It's so cool.
it is still federally endangered because it only grows in one spot. And there's supposedly a spot in Indiana where it grows, but it's been thought that was spread by seed. But because of their efforts, this plant is now common in cultivation. And so you can have a piece of history and an endangered species in your yard growing, and that can act as a failsafe if the original population ever gets destroyed again.
So you're telling me I could grow that in our community garden? What, does it need any like special care after it's been like spread?
No.
Is it a perennial?
Yes. If you want to do your part, a lot of people ask, how do I help, the environment without like donating to some organization helping the rainforest?
Right.
Get native plants. They are the groundwork, the foundation of all of our ecosystems around here, because everything depends on them, including us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first thing you grew as far as native plants? What was the first?
Yes. So when I got started with native plants, the first thing I harvested seed of was swamp milkweed.
Yeah.
And
Butterflies.
Yeah, I took the pods off of them. I stripped all the fluff off of them. I collected the seeds and I planted them. And those were the first native plants that I ever grew. And
how did it make you feel? Was it super cool?
Oh yeah, it was incredibly rewarding. And now I grow like thousands of them.
Now it's just another day.
It's definitely a snowball from. Oh, I think I grew that in my junior year of high school.
So when did it become like a business? Like you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So those same swamp milkweeds, my relative Darian, who I'm giving him a shout out because he's the one who kickstarted all of this. He came over.
Darian.
He came over and he was like, "What you got growing there?" I'm like, "Oh, this is swamp milkweed." He's like, "I've heard about swamp milkweed. I've heard about milkweed. You plant it for the monarchs." He said, "How much you want for that?" I said, "Well, I never really thought about selling them." I was just like, "No, take this money and I'll take this plant." And nothing else said. I'm like, "Shit, all right." So he gave me like $20 for like 5 of them. And I was like, I got an idea. So I began furiously researching how to grow all these plants. And my best friend in that was Prairie Moon Nursery. They have an entire germination codes for every plant that they offer. And they offer like 400 different species. So most of every native plant is in their database that you can just look at and how to germinate it. So I'm like, okay. So I got out all those Ziploc baggies of the seeds that I collected from that old field that I used to wander, and I ordered some more seeds from Prairie Moon Nursery, and I ordered a whole bunch of greenhouse supplies. And then at my new house, me me and my dad were like, I told him my idea, and he's like, we got to do this.
It's a good idea.
So we took an old carport that we weren't using, and we put some sheet metal on it, some plastic sheeting, some plastic coating, put in some metal benches because he's a welder, and we built my seedling greenhouse out of an old carport, which it is. I'll show. There's some pictures of it, but it looks kind of jerry rigged, but it works. It's unheated and it works really, really well. And I filled that up all with trays of native plants, completely full, and they germinated. I didn't know if they were going to germinate. I was like panicking, like I had like so much money invested in this. I'm down to like $0 in my savings. This better fucking work. I don't want to rely on my mom and dad for stimmy checks, you know? So. Yeah.
And how long ago was this then?
This was like right after I graduated. Well, it was during my last year of high school, my senior year. And then I started selling them when I graduated. So, you know, luckily most of them sprouted. So I was very happy about that. Transplanted them all in like March and April. And then by, I would say May, June, they were ready. And they were ready to be sold. And I remember going to the Alton Farmers Market and selling them. And I got this like incredible feeling of just like, people were just like, you are doing something incredible right now. No one is doing this. Nope. The only people who are growing native plants are across the river. No one is doing it here. No one's doing it. Well, now there's a few people in Southwest Illinois, but no one was doing it in the Alton area. No one was selling any native plants at all. The only way you could get native plants is if you go to like down south or across the river.
I mean, I had gone to some like Mississippi earth tones and bought some indigo before, but like never like you though. Like I remember my wife and I went down to the farmers market one of the first times you were down there, and I was like, oh wait, really? Yeah, we bought some of stuff for like the first year of our community garden.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, we were like, this native plants. And I'm like, dude, Tabs, we got to throw in some native plants. We got to throw in some mountain mint. We got to throw in some...
I think I remember you posting about that years ago. Yeah, because you were super excited.
Like, we were both so excited. Like, we still have yarrow. We still have Sweet Williams. We have a few other things that we got from you and T&I. I got a prickly pear from T&I. Because prickly pear cacti are native here.
Oh,
they are. There's also a species of scorpions that's native to the bluffs called bark scorpions.
The bluffs are so fucking cool. I love that little office area T&I where it's just like no guardrails, just a bluff face straight down.
Yeah.
I love that area.
What's it called?
Sanctuary?
Mississippi Sanctuary. Yeah, that's where I go.
Anyone who wants to get interested in native plants, go there right now.
There's some aromatic asters there.
Yeah, and they grow.
Like, they smell like sage and like, oh, they're so beautiful.
They grow out of bare rock. The bluffs are really cool because they're a looking glass into what's out west and what's down south in Texas. Because a lot of plants that like dry soil can't grow normally here because we have too wet soil. We have clay. But along the bluffs, there's barely any topsoil. So you get these really, really cool desert adapted plants growing along the bluffs that grow nowhere else in Illinois. And that's what's called a hill prairie habitat. And that's actually being lost because I don't know if any of you guys know this, but there's not supposed to be that many trees on the bluffs. All those fall colors you see in like the ads for Grafton, those trees aren't supposed to be there.
I did not know that.
And that's because of fire suppression. You know, those hill prairies used to burn like every 4 years, and they would eliminate all the woody tissue. Mm-hmm. But because we let that build up, it's turned into an upland forest, which is nice, but you're excluding habitat for what could be some really, really cool plants. And you still get crumbs of it in like the Nature Institute, along Principia's campus, you get a lot. And even in parts of Elsa, you get a good amount too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's not supposed to be trees on the bluffs.
Yeah, they're supposed to
and
be
they really push the whole fall color thing too in Grafton.
Yeah.
So
Hey, City of Grafton. Shit, I got something to tell you.
Good luck
Get bent.
I know. It'll never happen, but I will always be an advocate.
Never say never. I've seen some like accidental fires on the bluffs that have turned into like there was one in Principia, like off Principia one time, like a controlled burn. I know they do controlled burns there sometimes. Yeah. I know they do controlled burns across the river. Like there are still controlled burns going on,
just not as much as there needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, we should lobby for more fire.
I'm down.
Pyromaniac in me. It's like, you know what, guys? We should burn shit down within reason.
I've had some crazy intrusive thoughts regarding fire.
Right.
I've had some crazy intrusive thoughts regarding fire.
So I'm on so many watch lists as is. So
this is probably gonna put me on one.
No,
if I'm not already.
No, you're safe here.
We're all on a watch.
And you got like so many alibis right now.
Yeah,
so.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
Murder, what a murder.
Okay, so I have a question. So say somebody like comes to your stand at the farmer's market and wants to buy a plant from you. Say someone is like me who doesn't know a lot about plants. Okay. What would be the first native plant that you would recommend them getting?
So everyone's starter plant is purple coneflower in my book.
Okay.
Echinacea.
Yeah, because specifically Echinacea purpurea, because that one is incredibly adaptable. It blooms for a very long time and it's very showy, and you won't get any knocks on your door from any HOAs because you have it in your yard. It is what I call, it has broken the horticultural glass ceiling. That is a term I've come up with because a lot of plants don't get enough credit, or they don't get used because they're simply native and they look like a weed.
Yeah.
But purple coneflower has broken through that glass ceiling and has made it into horticulture. There's a bunch of cultivars on it, which I do not recommend you buy. Do not go to Lowe's and do not go to Home Depot. I will find you.
Okay.
I will rip up your coneflower and I will replace it with a better coneflower.
Exactly. I'll rip out your boxwoods, your crepe myrtles, everything.
Aggressive planting.
It's echinacea as well, right?
Yeah.
Like it's supposedly really good for your immune system.
Yeah. I have heard like echinacea, like they make pills and stuff out of it. Jeez.
Yeah.
Typically the roots that I have per people use the seeds. If you take an echinacea seed and chew on it, it is really weird.
Why?
It's like kind of minty and it numbs your tongue.
Huh.
Okay.
It is really weird, and I've actually heard that the taprooted species of echinacea are more potent for medicinal use, like Echinacea pallida, Echinacea paradoxa. Okay. I sell both of those too. So
I'm gonna have you come over sometime, Corey, and just tell me if I have native plants in my. I don't. Oh well, so you too. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have both of you. I just want to know. I don't know. My lawn is very unlandscaped. I mow. I don't do much. I don't have an HOA, even though my neighbors like to think otherwise.
What? Do you also hate lawns?
I despise lawns.
Okay, yeah.
No, they
are
suck.
Probably the biggest waste of money for everyone involved.
And water and pesticides.
It is the biggest waste of money in everyone's house is the lawn. Because if you plant that in like, even if you just like xeriscape it with just like a giant rock garden, it's still so much cheaper in the long run than if you were to get a push mower, have to keep up maintenance on it.
Oh, I hate it.
Have to spray broadleafs in your lawn, and then have to fertilize it. And then you get all these weirdos putting sand on their lawn to make it look nicer. I hate lawn bros. I hate it.
Don't come into my neighborhood.
What's a lawn bro?
You will hate it.
Like Hank Hill. Is Hank Hill a lawn bro? Damn it, boy.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
I love going to parties and whipping that out. It catches people so off guard. Anyway, yeah, you get Hank Hills and Dale Gribbles, and you get
Dale Gribble's not a lawn bro.
He's a pesticide bro.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's a dead bug man.
Yeah, lawns and spraying for mosquitoes are probably my two worst, most hated things on the planet right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Spraying for mosquitoes doesn't kill mosquitoes all the way because it doesn't. all it does is get into our waterways and kill all the bugs in there. And it kills all the bees. It is not a selective pesticide. It kills everything. It's like.
So what kind of pesticides do you use then? Or anything not use, but like not pesticides. See, I don't know anything about plants. How do you stop the bugs? That's what I want to know. How we stop
I don't do any work regarding pesticides and herbicides unless if it's removing invasive species.
Okay.
It is not necessary for native plants at all.
Okay.
Because what native plants do, they attract, if you get enough of them, they will attract the predatory insects that will then eat the pests.
Yep.
And then you'll get like really fucking cool like tachinid flies that look really metal, which they eat a whole bunch of shit. And then you'll get a whole bunch of parasitoid wasps that will kill tomato hornworms.
Oh, yeah, I need some of those.
Yeah.
So what happens when you plant it? Like, how do you take care of it, or you just let it go?
Just let it go.
Just let it go. Wow, that's my kind of plant.
Whenever you plant native plants, all you need to do is just keep it like watered for the first month, and then you never have to think about it ever again.
It is true. Our community garden has like a bunch of native plants in it, intertwined with like stuff that we're cultivating for food, basically. So it's like we'll let different things grow with different things, and they will help deter pests. I mean, for a while we were using basil, marigold, and oregano to deter pests from our tomatoes, but
them Facebook herbs,
we're looking more toward native plants.
Yeah,
pests.
Mountain mint would be excellent for that because it attracts the you know how I mentioned how the flowers aren't very deep. It attracts those like crazy tachinid flies.
Yeah,
and they're like voracious predators. They will eat anything.
Okay, love to hear that.
Yeah, and they won't bite you. They look really scary. Don't get me wrong. And like I don't know what they're called. They're called like daughter flies or something. They look like flying scorpions. They're terrifying looking, but they are really beneficial for the environment and for the garden.
Yeah.
So what did you mean by Facebook herbs? Because I know that you're right.
So whenever you're like scrolling on Facebook and you're into gardening, you get gardening targeted sponsors and like ads, and there are all these like weird AI generated images that are like wrong half the time, and they all say the same plants. Well, if you want to get rid of bugs, plant rosemary and mint and marigolds. And they treat these plants like cure-alls, but they're not even grounded in the context of our own ecosystem.
Yeah.
So how are they going to get rid of these things when they don't attract any of the things that actually get rid of them? I understand like the whole, it smells good and that gets rid of bugs, but mountain mint smells good and it's the most pollinator attractant plant in the whole area. So that's just not true. It's anything you hear regarding like companion planting and like, trap crops and stuff. Trap crops are true, but everything.
What is a trap crop?
It's where you plant a plant in the ground to attract pests, and then you get rid of the plant.
Okay.
Yeah, we use nasturtium for that.
Nasturtium.
Oh, nasturtium. There we go.
For cabbage moss. That one does work, and it has been proven. But all that stuff regarding like companion planting and like beneficial plants is just complete and utter horse shit.
I love that because Tabs is getting books from the library about it, but we do have a rule. If it's not a native plant, it doesn't go directly in the ground. It goes in a
bingo.
Yeah, we don't put things that aren't native plants in the ground itself.
I love that.
We have like separate raised beds that like we put cardboard under it to block the grass, and then we'll throw some dirt on there, and then we'll throw things that are native plants. So if it's a native plant, it goes directly in the ground. If it's not, it doesn't. So is there any native plant that makes for like a good indoor plant, like a good office plant, a good house plant? Like what do you suggest for that?
That is tough because in our rooms, it might not look like it's too dark, but it is really, really dark in our homes.
Absolutely.
So that's really tough. And usually when people ask me that at the farmer's market, I just tell them, I just turn them down. But there is one, but there is one that I think would work, and it's called there's two native sedums, two native succulents. There's widow's cross and there's woodland stone crop. Woodland stone crop would probably be the best bet, because it can grow in shade, it tolerates dry soil, and it even flowers.
What do the flowers look like?
They kind of look like little white like star shapes on them.
So for me, I rent. So I would love to do container gardening. Are native plants good for container gardening, like keeping them in containers? Okay, that's
so you know those like bluff edge plants I mentioned are excellent for containers because they're used to growing in basically no soil at all and being baked by the sun.
So as long as it has sun, it'll be all right?
Well, you can do shade containers as long as it can tolerate periods of drought and it can take the bitter cold that we have. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Like you can do prickly pear in pots. I have a prickly pear in a pot and it's doing fantastic.
Yeah, do some
There's no
gardening.
excuse
That's
for not
awesome.
buying a native plant.
Okay.
It is true. There isn't.
There's
no excuse.
So what are the most delicious native plants? Because I know you got black raspberries, and I was going to get some of those. I'm going to get some
Black raspberries, the shit.
They're I want to say they're my favorites, but I also have a persimmon tree right now growing. I'm such a sucker for persimmons, and I had a pawpaw one time, and I'm so insane for pawpaws.
Yeah, so black raspberries are my favorite. And they're actually one of those plants that require fire to get rid of the woody tissue because it's kind of like a pseudo shrub almost. Because the first year it doesn't make anything. It just grows really long. It can grow up to like 10 foot canes. And then the second year it flowers and fruits with these delicious, perfect berries.
They are insanely good.
The only thing wrong with them is that they're kind of seedy, but
who cares?
That's what floss is for.
They are entirely sweet and they have like hints of like very floral notes and wine.
Yeah.
They are incredible.
They used to grow in my like family woods until somebody in my family got a hold of a bulldozer and too much glyphosate. Black
raspberries are getting ready to ripen in like 2 weeks and I'm so fucking hyped.
Oh, I'm so stoked for that. All right, so
we'll have them at the farmer's market.
You're selling them at the farmer's market?
My parents do.
And mulberries, they're not native, right?
There's a red mulberry that is native, but it is slowly becoming extirpated from our ecosystem because it's hybridizing with the invasive white mulberry. And it is breeding out the native genes of the red mulberry. So now the only place where you can find a true red mulberry is in Maine.
That sucks because I have a white mulberry growing on our garden and they're delicious.
Cut it down.
But they're so good.
Cut it down.
Already. He's telling me to cut it down.
He's an invasive plant serial killer.
Yeah, do that. And then you can find red mulberries relatively cheaply.
Okay. And those are native.
Yeah, you can buy
the white ones are invasive.
Yeah, you can buy a red mulberry relatively easily, and then they grow just as fast as a white mulberry.
All right, good to know. There's also wild grapes growing.
Yeah, those are cool, but they're really hard to cultivate because they need to reach a certain size before they start producing fruit.
Yeah.
They need to reach like 20 feet in length.
Oh, wow.
I've only had them like 2 times. And
they're sour.
They're very sour. Great jelly, though.
I love sour everything. So
one more break, and then we're going to conclude.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Well, that sucks. I want to talk about.
All right. So we're back again from yet another break. We're doing a 2-break system these days. So while we were on that brief break, you were telling me that the white mulberries have been in Illinois because of a politician?
Yeah. So for some reason, I don't know who it was.
Okay.
But apparently some weird politician decided that it was a good idea to have a silk industry in Illinois. So in order to raise all these silk moths, he brought over paper mulberry and white mulberry, which are now horrible invasive trees because the silk moth feeds on mulberry leaves. And because Illinois isn't the same as China where silk moths are raised, the whole industry fell through and it was a humongous disaster.
Okay, that's hilarious.
So I think because of that failed industry, we now have these 2 horrible invasive trees that are just everywhere. And not just here, all across the United States. They're in California, they're in Arizona.
And how long ago was this? How long did it take for that to happen?
1800s.
Okay.
It's a fun story.
That's fucked up. So we can find your stuff at the farmer's market, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell us a little more about the farmer's market. You told me over the break that you have more to tell about it.
So I love the Alton Farmers Market, hands down.
Who doesn't?
It is incredible.
We're actually talking to Sarah tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Uh-huh.
So I love the Alton Farmers Market and just the diversity of vendors and how many different things are there. There's a guy, like an unbeatable chess dude there.
What?
Yeah, no one can beat him at chess.
Where's he at?
He'll pay you $50 if you beat him. I think he's in the little shoulder part.
I think I was wondering because they sell other stuff, right? Yeah, and I saw the chess board and I was like, I wonder what's that. Wow.
And there's just a huge diversity of stuff there, but I do have some issues with it, unfortunately.
Uh-oh.
So last year,
tea time.
Last year, there was a horrible lake freeze that killed all the peach blossoms.
Oh, I remember that.
And magically, there were people at the farmer's market with peaches.
How'd that happen?
They buy them from the produce row in St. Louis.
Really?
So
I heard that's very common, and especially a lot of the St. Louis farmers market is
farmers market is very common. But in our bylaws in the farmers market, you have to grow everything within a 50-mile radius, and that rule kind of doesn't apply to people in Calhoun because they're in Calhoun, but they still grow all their own stuff. But it's not just with peaches. There is a good amount of fruit and vegetable fraud happening. But it is a real thing, Corey. It is a real thing.
Soulard Farmers Market is notorious for that. And you can kind of tell, what has just been shipped in from the freaking grocery store. Yeah.
Okay. This year we added a bylaw where if a fellow produce grower sees any of this, we have to publicly notify the head farmer, Bob, that this is happening, and they will do a surprise inspection on their operation to see what's happening.
Oh,
I love that.
So
we got a little secret police going on.
Yeah, so there are a few vendors that I know of that do this. It's all about just getting rid of dishonesty. It's not about drama. It's not about anything. I am super honest with my customers. If I tell them that I had a crop failure of like rose verbena or some really, really hard to grow natives, they will understand. And they're like, awesome. What's an alternative I can get? And when you're not honest with your customers, they start to get suspicious. They will know eventually. And it's not just us that are suspicious. The people are suspicious.
How can you tell? Like what's a good tell for people? I love being aware, but what can someone do to be like, wait a second, that's a little greasy.
Fruit and vegetables imperfections. Those are homegrown.
Okay.
And it's also not seasonal. There are some people that sell at that farmer's market with tomatoes in like mid-June. Come on, man.
Yeah, those don't pop till like July.
That's ridiculous. Who are you trying to fool? And obviously, your average consumer doesn't know this because not everyone grows plants. And I'm just putting this out there that it is there. And I feel like no one else has really had the balls to say
I've never heard this. And I know,
I love it though.
I love that the farmer's market has steps now.
Yeah.
Because it makes me like the farmer's market as a concept even more, where it's like, oh no, we'll get them.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's vendors that are doing that's shady.
Yeah.
So it's a level of shady I didn't
that's at every farmer's market too.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. But it sounds like Alton's actually doing something to address it.
Yeah.
Surprise inspections.
I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Hello, comrade.
So as far as
get those peaches.
As far as your business is concerned, do you have any goals for it in the next 5 years? Where would you like to see it be?
So this isn't a permanent thing, unfortunately.
Oh.
Because I am doing this to help support myself, support the people around me and my girlfriend, and to just do what I love and do something good while making money.
Hell yeah.
And it is paying for my college. It is doing so much, and I'm incredibly thankful for my customers. Thank you. Seriously.
Yeah.
I never thought this was going to get this big. I never thought.
It needed to. It's great to see. It gives me hope.
My business this year so far has grown by 230% from last year.
That is amazing.
And like 200% from the year before. It is just nonstop growth. And I want to continue this. And I am going to continue this in some way, shape, or form in the future. But after college, the future of Sam's Native Nursery is uncertain. But I want to start it up again. There is going to be a brief break, but once I get enough capital to really get my own place, maybe rent out of space, maybe get an actual brick and mortar location one day. Oh, that is a goal that I want to achieve.
So outside the farmers market, where can people find your stuff?
So I'm going to be at the Jerseyville Farmers Market starting in June.
Okay.
And then I'll be at a few events here and there. They're planning on doing another plant sale at T&I September 6th. Cool. I'll be there if that is actually happening. And then I got word of this like festival in Elsa that is not
is it their village festival?
Yeah, village festival.
Oh, I love their village
I've
festival.
never been to Elsa. I'm not gonna lie.
You've never been to?
I've been here like 8 years, but I've never been there.
You hear all these people talking about walkable cities and walkable neighborhoods. Elsa's a walkable neighborhood.
I'm gonna have to go there.
Yeah, no, they've got a lot of really cool stuff. The general store shut down though.
Yeah.
But that breaks my heart.
That new restaurant that opened up is fucking...
State Street?
Oh, State Street, they did move
State
there.
Street moved there, yeah. Figgy Piggy. Yeah, the Figgy Piggy Sammy is so good. But yeah, Elsa, beautiful place, super haunted, love it.
And lots of native plants too. Lots of native
I'll have to take a day trip with the kids there.
I collect a lot of seed from the gardens there.
Hell yeah. Anything else you want to tell everybody before we... landscaping.
Yes.
Tell us about the landscape.
So, yeah, hire me for like, if you know next to nothing about native plants, I will come out, do a garden consultation, and then I will do a native plant landscaping. I've done a job up on Henry Street for some loyal customers. It's looking great. They keep sending me photos. Aww. And that's another thing. If you bought plants from me, please send me your photos. I love seeing... Like the other day, someone's Kankakee Mallow they bought from me is like 7 feet tall already. And if you also want to learn more about native plants, there's a Facebook group, Southwest Native Plant Growers. Join that. There's lots of good information. It's a good place where growers and customers and people who just like gardening connect. There's 2 other growers that I know of that are on there. There's Tom Sherrill, Green Thumb Nursery. He's at the Edwardsville Farmers Market. I used to work with him at Bayer, but that's another story.
Okay.
And then Laura Schaefer, who runs Little Sky Wildflowers, and I really hope you guys, she's down in Millstadt. I really hope you guys support her because she's battling a terminal illness right now. Aww. I really want everyone to just try and support her.
Hell yeah.
She's really tough and she's awesome.
Love it.
So join that Facebook group and you'll get updated on when native plant sales happen and just like general information about native plants. Like I do like a weekly post featuring a native plant that gets posted in there.
Cool. Yeah, that's incredible. It's such a valuable resource to have.
Yeah.
And I love seeing like the growth of your business isn't just cool for you. It's cool for our area to have this much passion.
Absolutely.
Restoring our ecology.
I never would have expected this because typically whenever I think of around here, I think of people who just mindlessly spray glyphosate on everything. But even like farmers who I would never have expected, like, I love this. And now that I think about it, they really don't have any other choice. Because they work with the tools they're dealt with. Like on Route 3, I will see that like most people, they keep their roadsides prairie, I've been noticing. And it makes me happy that more and more people are becoming aware of this because of people like me, people like Crime Pays, people like all these different people who are getting into native plants. It has just become a movement that's just radiated across the United States.
I know I'm swept up in it.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife started the pollinator garden of native plants at the library.
Yeah. I love this. And I admire your passion. You have actually single-handedly given me faith in your generation.
Wow.
From this one episode. Like, literally.
That is crazy because I think I'm a statistical anomaly.
No, I think it's your passion and you're very, honestly, you would be an amazing teacher. Teaching this is definitely, I can see your passion. Like I really, the educational aspect of it, you could do a lot with that. So
the millennials were supposed to save the world and we kind of just fucked it up more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we're starting.
Yeah. Now we're getting
there.
We had to overcome a lot, though.
Yes.
Like,
you're getting higher up in the ladder of, because there is a hierarchy with age, because boomers run everything right now, and
bastards.
All like 95% of my customers are boomers. They are old grannies. The old grannies love me.
They do. And like old granny boomers are some of the most like progressive, environmentally minded people you'll ever meet. It's insane. Like,
and their husbands are some of the complete opposite.
Yes.
It is so crazy.
Shout out to the boomer women out there. We love you. Boomer men, you got
do better.
And you got to wise up a little.
Gen X, I don't even know what you are. Like, what do you do?
Limp Bizkit.
What is what?
Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit.
Shout out to my girlfriend. I mentioned Limp Bizkit on the podcast.
I love that. How long could you live out in the woods just foraging native plants?
This is incredible because there is actually someone who has done it.
Okay.
Around here? No, not around here, but I learned of this guy. His name is Joe Hollis. He died recently, but he lived out in the Appalachian Mountains for 50 years, eating completely everything off of his land. But if you want to learn more about like foraging and just medicinal plants in general, he has a channel. He has like this whole hippie commune.
Yeah. You had me at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at Mountain Gardens on YouTube, and you can learn all about that. He had hundreds of videos of just every herb you can think of, like, and just everything about it, what it's good for, and even like wild food plants like American groundnut, all these different plants that are just important. And he not only does that, he goes over like, he calls it the paradise gardening concept, where you take a bunch of useful plants and arrange them ornamentally and live off of a botanical garden of useful plants. And that's his whole philosophy. And I believe in it. You know, you hear all these permaculture fucking dudes. I love permaculture, but some of these dudes are just fucking nuts. And they grow shit like the autumn olive, like agriculturally, which is a horrible invasive shrub, because you can make jam out of the berries. It fixes nitrogen in the soil, which it does, but you can just plant black raspberry. You get a berry that tastes better, and you can just interplant it with partridge pea, which also fixes nitrogen. Why plant an invasive species when you can use natives that do the exact same fucking thing, and then that also support the environment? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're letting the partridge peas take over the clover.
Exactly. It's a wonderful cover crop. And I love permaculture, but some of these people are way off the deep end in regards to that. But Joe Hollis in Mountain Gardens was incredibly wise, incredibly well-respected individual, and he lived for a long time.
Rest in peace.
Years.
Wow.
He was like 83, 85, something. He was still getting around good in his newer videos. I mean, he was running around with a cane, smacking like herbs and shit, talking about them.
That's giving Corey vibes.
He looks like he lived out in the Appalachian Mountains for 50 years. He definitely looks the part.
Squad goals. All right, man. Well, it's been a fucking pleasure. This is one of the best interviews.
I really do.
Wow. That's a
yeah. So like, you're very well knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. You're really cool. Like, you perfect.
We are giving you a round of applause. Wow. We are.
An applause.
We needed this.
Yeah,
we needed this.
This is a
first Gen Z on Sunken Press with a round of applause.
You are the first Gen Z on Sunken Press.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. That we did. Wow. Thanks so much.